States Purple Day in an effort to raise awareness and understanding for all those who live with seizures.
Your worship, I was even given notes, so I'll make sure that I get everything down right. About a year and a half ago, our grandson Lincoln was diagnosed with epilepsy, and at the time it was a scare for our entire family. We didn't know what epilepsy. I'm not gonna. We didn't know what epilepsy was, and it was a big scare. You know, at that time, that night when Lincoln had his first episode, you know, Megan, my daughter's a nurse, and she didn't know what was happening. Right. And it was a scare. And since then, you know, as a family, we got to learn what epilepsy is. And we're not, you know, it's one of these things that we're not afraid of epilepsy anymore. We know what epilepsy is. And we look at the science. And, you know, the biggest thing with epilepsy, if you see someone having a seizure, is stay calm. Always stay calm, because even though they're having a seizure, having an event, they're still aware of what's happening. They know what's happening, even though they can't move. And Megan gave me these notes, and if I don't say them, I'll be in trouble. She said, like, the public thinks epilepsy is shaking or convulsing, but it's not always that way. It all depends on which side of the brain is affected. Lincoln has occipital lobe partial seizures, means that he'll just stare off into space, his pupils becomes dilated, and he'll turn gray or blue. And when he turns gray or blue, it looks like he's not breathing. It's a huge fright for all of us. But he's awake, he's just unable to communicate. Sometimes he makes, just before it happens, sometimes he makes these unusual sounds like clucking noise or hard to breathe. And sometimes the seizures can lead to convulsions, but it never happened with Lincoln. And they usually last about 5 minutes. And, you know, we do have medication for Lincoln. Lincoln's not in any medication now, but we do have medication. We know how to deliver that, but don't ever give medication to someone who's having a seizure. And some of the things she said is, you know, your first thing to do is you time the seizure. As soon as you notice it's happening, you know, click your watch and take your time, see how long it is. Make sure they're always in a safe spot. Don't need to hold them down. Don't need to do nothing. Make sure it's safe. There's nothing around that they're going to hurt themselves with. You know, if you can lift up their head, turn them on the side, put a pillow on his head, but just leave it all like that. You know, we do have medication in case Lincoln needs it, but so far he hasn't do it. And, you know, if it lasts longer than 5 minutes, call 911. If it doesn't last not longer than 5 minutes, when he wakes up, he'll be very sleepy. He's going to be confused and dazed. Don't ask no questions. Just most times, like our shirts say, you know, his fight is our fight, just comfort. That's all you have to do. And most times he'll just come out of that altogether. And as a family, we support epilepsy. And thank you very much for the time. Yeah.
I just want to say I'm so happy to hear all of the great facts that Councillor Angel shared. My sister had childhood epilepsy, but when she was a child, there wasn't as much research and information as there is now. So for her, there was a lot of doctor's appointments, a lot of different medications and blood works and testing. And, you know, it was very scary. And my parents, you know, they really struggled at the time. But luckily for my sister, once she got to a certain age, she did grow out of it. And I know that for a lot of families that is the case, but there's also a lot of families that, you know, they have to live with this forever. But, you know, epilepsy affects so many. I just think it's great that we're bringing awareness to it because, you know, they're not alone and there's so many other people who are going through the same things. So.
As a family, we're getting together. That's why, hence, there's 7 people in the family. Hence, we're going to have 7 shirts. We're going to take a picture ourselves. So it's and celebrate it, you know, as it is.
Well, these are only loners, are they?
They're only loners. Yeah. And Jim happened to be wearing. Jim is wearing Lincolns.
Yeah, you called it. You called it.
Yeah.
Can you breathe?
Yeah.
All right, folks, thank you very much. We'll move on in the agenda. I'm going to look for the Infrastructure and Public Works Committee report. Councillor Fry, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. Okay, first on our agenda for this evening is the contract recommendation for floor mat supply and exchange service. So the committee was advised that the tender for the floor mat supply and exchange service closed on February the 4th, and one bid was received. So the lowest qualified bidder was Canadian Linen and Uniform Service Company for the bid amount of $17,810.31, HST included. Therefore, the Infrastructure and Public Works Committee recommends that the contract for the floor mat supply and exchange service be awarded to the lowest qualified bidder, Canadian Linen and Uniform Service Company, for the bid amount of $17,810.31, HST included. And this is for the period of April 1st, 2022 to March 31st, 2025, with the right to extend the contract by increments of 1 year for a period of up to no more than 2 years. This is budgeted for and falls within the operational budget amounts for the various facilities, and I so move.
It is moved by Councillor Fry, seconded by Councillor Rice. Just noting, Councillor, this is the annual amount.
This is the annual amount.
Yes, thank you.
Yes.
Councillor Randall.
Just a quick note, and mostly I'm asking just for the public. When you only get one bid of say $17,000 and it's a long bid, couldn't the city do this ourselves?
I am going to defer this one to Director Antle.
Councillor Randall, thank you for the question. This is not a mat service that we would be able to do with any of our own equipment. This is replacing mats that you see around the city. They're actually taken out and cleaned and brought back. So it's a service that we've had for many years, and it's reasonable value. So we are concerned we only get one bid. So we've compared it to previous bids and it's reasonable.
Yeah, it's just one bid. And I don't think there's any more. I think the two companies got absorbed into one.
That's what we understand.
Yeah. Thank you.
Councillor Rice, please.
Yes, I just wanted to add to that, so like we find now with the process, I guess, with a lot of the public, I guess, tender acts coming forward, certain items that are specialized work and stuff like that, you only get one bid. Like it's not like it was back, say, several years ago when you had different companies that were very vast and broad and wide in probably different, because this is a company that do uniforms and linen. They also do some of our sites as well. And just wanted to add that sometimes, we find the same process with a lot of companies now with government, that you're only getting one bid on a tender because they're specializing in one item only. So, and I can see this like going forward, just you have a lot of this going forward, right?
Councillor Locke.
Thank you, Your Worship. Director Antle, just curious now, I think this gets to Councillor Antle's point, where we only have one bidder. Do we do sort of like a comparative analysis, say, with other Atlantic provinces to know whether, because I think this is what Councillor Antle was getting to, with a sole bidder, we sort of got no benchmark by which to compare. And I know we can look at it in past years, but I'm just wondering if we haven't, because in this case, we only had one qualified bidder here, if perhaps we could look at other jurisdictions, maybe in the region, say I'm thinking Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, but just to determine whether or not it's comparable, or at least within range. Because to Councillor Rice's point, this is becoming a little more common than it was, say, 10 years ago. And the whole purpose of tendering is to get competitive bids. But if we're only getting sole bids and there's only one supplier, how can we ensure that we're getting, a good bang for our buck?
Director Antle.
Thank you, Your Worship. Councillor Locke, we certainly can. We can look far and wide just to be able to compare some of the prices. One of the things I would point out, and Councillor Rice has noted this as well, when you see things like this happening, and this is a service that could be provided in our province for sure, and certainly you'd think in our city, this is where I would think from a business perspective, some would start taking an interest in this to see if there's an opportunity locally to be able to provide that service. That would be a place where I would almost encourage some of these things. And that's, I know as a province, we do look for that. But I would certainly look at the Atlantic Canada region. We can do that.
I think the sad reality here, this reflects the labor market. It's difficult to get people to do types of work like that, right? Anybody else before we call the question? And so I will, all in favor? Contrary-minded, motion carried. Back to you, Councillor.
Thank you. Next on our agenda is the Pest Control Services Contract Recommendation. So the committee was advised that the tender for the pest control services closed on February the 8th, and 3 bids were received. The lowest qualified bidder was Rent-A-Kill Pest Control Canada for the bid amount of $13,133, HST included. Therefore, the Infrastructure and Public Works Committee recommends that the contract for pest control services be awarded to the lowest qualified bidder, Rent-A-Kill Pest Control Canada, for the bid amount of $13,133 for the period of May 1st, 2022 to April 30th, 2025. And again, with the right to extend the contract by increments of 1 year for a period of up to no more than 2 years. And this is budgeted for and falls within the operational budget amounts for the various facilities, and I so move.
Again, moved by Councillor Fry, thank you, and seconded by Councillor Rice. Any questions, comments? Rent-A-Kill, indeed, indeed. Okay, I'll call the question. All in favor? Those opposed? Carried, thank you.
Now we have a card access installation for Gloria, Pearson Community Center, and the Glacier. So the committee was advised that our locksmithing service contractor, Armor Lock and Safe, was asked to source vendors and pricing to supply the necessary Cantech card access equipment that is required for the card access installation for the Glacier and Gloria Pearson Center. In accordance with our locksmithing service contract, using the lowest Cantech system materials quote, Armor Lock and Safe provided the quote for the card access upgrade at a total cost of $65,845.53, HST included. Again, this is for Gloria Pearson and the Glacier. In accordance with our electrical services contract, Pro Circuit Electrical, in consultation with Armor Lock and Safe, provided the quote to supply and install the necessary conduit, wiring, and electrical connections for this project at a cost of $14,651.55, HST included. So the recommendation from the Infrastructure and Public Works Committee is to approve to proceed with the card access work via the locksmithing service contract with Armor Lock and Safe for the total sum of $65,845.53. And the committee also recommends approval to proceed with the electrical work required for this project via the electrical services contract with Pro Circuit Electrical for the total sum of $14,651.55, HST included. And I so move.
It is moved by Councillor Fry, and second by Councillor Rice. This is really 2 parts, isn't it? 2 motions, so to speak.
Yes.
No need to call both, but just want to make sure we're all understanding that there's a secondary contract here to, I guess, have the electricity fed into the circuit system so that we can actually make the card activation system work, right? I thought I'd clarify that. Anybody have any other questions or concerns? I'll call the question. All in favor? Contrary-minded? Motion carried. Thank you.
And now I'm going to pass it over to my colleague, Councillor Rice.
Thank you, Councillor Fry. So number 4 on the IPW work is clothing issue request for proposal agreement. The background, this one, the city's collective agreement outlines a provision of clothing issues items for staff. These issue items allocated as required, suited to specific positions. The acquisition of clothing issue items for their Infrastructure and Public Works Department is for our 4 requests for proposals. Our RPF, the request for quotations, RQF agreement. 2 of the RFP agreements with Campbell Ship Supplies are approaching their expiry dates. So we have 2 there, Group D for steel toe rubber boots expiring March 24th, 2022. And for the other one was high vis safety shirts. That one expires on May 28, 2022. For both RPF agreements, the original terms were from 2019 to 2021 tender, with the option for 2 additional 1-year extensions of agreeable to the vendor and the city. The vendor is prepared to extend both agreements for the second and final additional year until 2023. So recommendation, the Infrastructure Public Works Committee recommends that the city extend the 2 agreements with Campbell Ship Supplies, Group D for steel toe rubber boots, and for high vis safety shirts for additional year to March 2024, to March 24th and to May 28, 2023 respectively, as per the terms of this agreement. And I so move.
Moved by Councillor Rice, seconded by Councillor Fry. Director Antle, is this really a way of avoiding inflation for 1 more year?
It is a way of doing that, Your Worship. It is also within the terms of the contract, the RFP, that permits us to extend on mutual agreement and maintaining the prices as they are.
But the city's side of that mutual agreement, our motivation here is to use the locked-in prices that are already established
Absolutely.
at the beginning of this agreement.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Any other comments, council? Call the question. All in favor? Those opposed? And motion carried. Thank you.
Thank you, Worship. Number 5 on the IPW list is north of Topsail Road development. Project update. Background on this development is the north side of Topsail area, predominantly located above the 190 meter contour, is the biggest area of undeveloped land left in the city of Mount Pearl. The analysis of the infrastructure capacity in this area is critical information required to make informed decisions related to the future development in this area. Scrolling down, upgrades will be required for development of the north of Topsail Road area. The exact upgrades required are still being assessed to determine the most cost-effective solutions. So we have actually CBCL Limited has been providing professional engineering services for previous infrastructure assessments in this area, and they're specialized, I might add, in that area. So in December of 2021, CBCL Limited submitted a Mount Hill analysis engineering service proposal, which will include detailed information about the future needs of this project, which is very crucial to this project. The cost of the proposal received from CBCL is for $17,388, HST included. So recommendation from IPW is the committee has reviewed and recommends the approving the CBCL Mount Hill analysis engineering service proposal as a sole source based on continuous service for the amount of $17,388 and HST included. And I so move.
Moved by Councillor Rice, seconded by Councillor Fry. Comments, questions? Councillor Antle, please. And then Councillor Locke.
Your worship, I was certainly excited when I saw this coming up in the kit today. You know, every time I see Northlands, I mean, that's our next new frontier in City of Mount Pearl. I think there's close to 1,200 homes. I propose to go up there eventually. And the more, this is just the beginning. And I was just so happy that we're starting this development, or we're getting some things moving. It's been on the go now a couple of years. The zoning has changed and we're moving forward. And I just want to know, I'm very excited to see this. This is our new tax base for the city of Mount Pearl. Thank you very much.
I believe I have Councillor Locke, followed by the Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll echo what Councillor Antle just said. It'll probably be one of the biggest, if not the biggest, development that the city will see in its history, and certainly in decades. So this here, just for the benefit of our public, is engineering services. Before we proceed with any sort of housing developments or commercial developments in this area, we have to ensure that we can properly service it with the sanitary services and drinking water and the like. So this expenditure here is to basically determine the groundwork, to see what infrastructure we need to put in place. And also, as a part of our asset management, we got some work ongoing in the area this year for some upgrades. So it may make sense to look at the needs now for this new area, and perhaps we can, expand the services while we got the ground open up this year. So I think it's timely, and I echo Councillor Antle's points. It's exciting. We're going to have a great development up here, and it certainly will contribute to our tax base. Thank you, Your Worship.
Deputy Mayor Kiley, please.
To add and to expand on what my fellow colleagues have said about this project, it is extremely promising, and I'm happy to see this on the agenda tonight. When we look at one of the last areas of development within our city, we know we want to do it right, and we only get one opportunity to do this. So this is just an indication of what we are really focusing on, which is ensuring asset management is part of this, smart planning is a part of this, and that those that are going to be living there, working there, and just loving their, growing up in these communities are going to be thanking us. And this is one of those opportunities where what we're talking about today with regards to ensuring we have an analysis at all areas of our infrastructure in place before anything else to be done is to make sure we're planting seeds for the next parts of this development. So I'm extremely excited and happy to see this as one of the recommendations, and certainly in support of that. When we look at this, this is just one opportunity, and I look forward to seeing what next steps are going to be evolving in this area.
I think that's a very good segue over to you, Director. This is an infrastructure piece. I'd like to hear some commentary for the benefit of the public why it's sole source. I think that's a legitimate question and issue. And what's the likely outcome when this is done? I believe it's all about pipes. It's mostly about water, sewer, and storm drainage. I know there's other elements to the subdivision up there, but we've got the zoning in place, I believe, for 2.5, 3 years. We've got a road network already proposed, parks laid out, open space, residential, commercial. A lot of the work, the groundwork, so to speak, have been done. This is the underground stuff, Director.
Your worship, you're right. This is one more piece. We've been actively involved in assessing the infrastructure needs of, we call it north of Topsail Road, because it's more than just, say, a section of north of Topsail. It's more than just Kinmount Hill, which is very large. So we've been over the past several years assessing our water demand, first off, in relation to the water reservoir that we have on Kinmount Hill. And as a continuing and connected to current capital works projects that Councillor Locke referred to, the time is very crucial now to know the final pieces of our infrastructure needs in that entire area to connect as we open up ground, particularly on Farrell Drive, to be able to ensure that we can expand our infrastructure underground in that area. So we have assessed the water. We started off several years ago with CBCL through a proposal process then, and we've continued to work with CBCL as we've expanded and understood the needs. And now we're down to the last pieces, which is the sanitary and the storm. They've done some of the storm analysis that we've had to do with the Topsail Road storm sewer outfall that we had underway and completed last construction season. So this is a continuation of that work. It makes sense for us to continue with that service. And it's a very reasonable proposal. And that's been the recommendation brought forward.
Thank you very much. Long road to get here and still a bit of a long road ahead. Look, Councillor Fry.
Just have a question, Director Handel. So this coming season now, we're going to be doing Farrell Drive, right? So that's going to be all new piping, asphalt, curbs, sidewalk. Outside of that dig, can the residents on Kinmount Hill expect any other disruptions this summer? I don't mean to use the word disruption, probably a bad word, but construction up in that area. Upgrades. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Fry. You can hear?
No, I hear you. Go ahead.
Okay.
Sorry, sir.
The work that's anticipated for Farrell Drive and further areas on north of Topsail Road may not start construction this season. This is organizing us for the infrastructure needs and will allow us to inform. We're proceeding with the work on north of Topsail in this area through a design build request for proposal. So in order to do that, part of the design scope we need to be able to identify is the infrastructure demands. And this is what we're going to be able to inform in that RFP. Once we issue that RFP, which we anticipate this year, then a design piece of work has to be completed by what we call is the design builder. So that could take several months. So I would anticipate seeing some disruption in that area. It would be likely at the earliest late in this construction season. Most likely it will be next construction season.
You know, I'd just like to take this opportunity to commend our staff because, you know, in terms of all of the work that you do with asset management, to have the foresight of marrying it with the needs for the future development is good on everybody. So please pass along. Thank you for that. That's awesome.
All right, I'll call the question. All in favor? Those opposed? Motion carried. We spend more time on 17,000 than we do on 17 million sometimes, but good discussion, exciting times. And again, to Councillor Fry's point, a lot of work has gone into this and more than just from people at this table. So thank you very much, everybody. And we look forward to, yes, eventually breaking ground up above, probably in 2023, according to the director. Next.
Thank you, Worship. So the next two items on the IPW list is for information purposes only. Number 6 is operational updates. Public Work Division operating in full winter mode. And I might add that we're getting close to the end of our, because seeing today is the first day of spring, but we'll keep our fingers crossed and knock on wood. Potholes and manhole repairs ongoing as required. Tenders for the vehicle fleet purchases planned for 2022 have been drafted and are under review by the procurement division. Engineering Services Division is quite busy getting everything ready for, I guess, for the spring, summer, and fall. Continuing preparation of annual city maintenance tenders for 2022. Also, our Facilities Maintenance Division continuing maintenance on the pool, splash pad, and water slide. Number 7, capital projects status update. Requests for proposal for the owner's advisory services for the new Civic Center are underway. Design build requests for proposals for the ICIP projects are underway as well. And St. David's Avenue Smart Accessible Playground construction is scheduled to resume in May of 2022 and scheduled for completion on August the 5th, 2022. And that's it for me, Your Worship.
Thank you very much for the updates. Final thoughts, Councillor Fry.
Thank you. I'd just like to add one more item to that. Under the capital projects, we've now finalized and issued the owner's advisor RFP for the Civic Center. And this is to provide us consulting services to help prepare the design build RFP for the actual design and construction. They will provide the expertise with facilities and costs, cost estimating, legal, energy modeling, among other services. And this is essential to ensure a quality project and required to supplement our resources. So that is really exciting news. Another project that we're excited about, the Civic Center. And that's it for me, Your Worship.
Thank you. Community Development Committee, Councillor Lane, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. So the first thing on our agenda here today is the pool chemical pricing recommendation for calcium, sodium, and chlorine. So this committee recommends approval to accept the price increase from Clearwater Pools temporarily while longer term options are being assessed. The price increases are noted as sodium bicarb. The annual increase was $2,264. Calcium, the increase would be $1,322. And for chlorine, the annual increase is $220. So the total increase to the annual budget is $3,806. The current pricing and details were sought from 2 other local vendors. However, they were both at a higher cost. So the committee recommends going forward with this, and I move.
It is moved by Councillor Lane and seconded by Councillor Antle. I guess this is the never-ending inflationary spiral that we've all witnessed so far since COVID, during the war, and seems to be our future. Hey, unavoidable. What's the total value of these contracts, Director?
Total, I would have to get back to you on that.
Mhm.
The approach we've taken with this one is the vendor asked for an increase, and as staff kind of recommending to council that we do this temporarily until we can get a better, if I could put it, lay of the land later on in the spring and the summer, and then we may go out to tender again, but this would kind of buy us time in the interim.
Well, I think it's only appropriate. We should go to market at some point, if only because it sends a message that in the middle of doing business, you can't just change the ground rules. I can understand the cost pressures, but this is now pool supplies. We've seen it with vehicles and we're seeing it in other areas. So yeah, I'd ask if you could just, for next meeting, just give me the grand total of the contracts per year. I don't think it's with a $50 million budget, I don't think it's going to break our budget. But having said that, the more we see these increases, the more pressures we'll be under. Anybody else, folks? Oh, sorry, Councillor, thank you, Councillor Rice.
Yes, no, I just wanted to add, we're being like, I see there in the bottom that, 2 other local vendors were contacted. So it was nice to know that we're being proactive and it's good to see the city staff are doing that. And I wouldn't think they would do anything then more than that, because, a lot of times with these prices that are increasing now, we're seeing it right across the board pretty well with every business and every, every, I guess, part that we use in the city, from IPW to pools to corporate services. And so it's nice to see that they're doing the background work and checking out our prices, it's great to see.
Okay, I'll call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Sorry, those opposed, and then motion carried. Thank you. Apologies. Summer day camp.
Okay, So for the information of public, the summer employment application for the summer day camp and park patrol is available on the city's website. The closing date for application is April 12th, 2022. I actually have lots of friends, family members who have really enjoyed working for the city's day camp program and park patrol. So I highly encourage anybody who's of interest to apply because it's a great opportunity and I can't think of a better way to spend your summer. So I encourage anyone to apply for that. And I'm going to pass this over now to Councillor Antle.
On that note, just Deputy Mayor asked for a moment on the floor.
I just wanted to actually build on what Councillor Lanning had said. That I think this is an incredible this is an incredible opportunity. Some of the things I love about this, it engages our young individuals that are thinking about careers and potentially, you know, what they're going to be doing in their lives. And there's such transferable skills when you think about summer day camp, whether you're going into education or social work. Park patrol is an excellent example of where you can go anything around if you're looking at safety, crime prevention, violence prevention. And it's really one of those programs that you could see not only just a matter of, you know, community safety with park patrol, but it's an opportunity to be a mentor and be a positive presence within our parks and our recreation for young people and everybody going around. So I think it's a great opportunity. And I'm just curious also as how many people does under these programs do the City of Mount Pearl employ roughly throughout the summer season?
Deputy Mayor, roughly each summer about 50 in that range. And you're looking at day camp, park patrol, special events. So approximately 50 students, give or take.
Thanks so much. That's incredible and well done. I know it's not an easy endeavor to work and mentor. A lot of this is an opportunity not only to be I think a contributing person to the community, but also become mentored by a lot of our staff and see the opportunities of what it's like to work and support a municipality. So thank you very much.
I also think there's a bit of Councillor Lane of functional, some functional progress here. I think when we established the budget for 2022, we are moving to increase our park patrol coverage throughout the city as a way of making our community safe, at least to make it more monitored. I would ask Director Collins, what is the anticipated number of park patrol people we are going to hire this year?
If I recall correctly, it's around 10 or so. Right now, the total number of applications between day camp and park patrol, I think the last we checked is about 125 applications. So we've gotten a great response. And this year, knock on wood, we hope to be back closer to normal than we've been in the past number of years. If you recall, our day camps in particular have been lower capacities, unable to attend outings. So we hope this summer will be much more back to normal, people going on outings and much more physical activity and social interaction.
There we go. Thank you very much for the update. And I believe Councillor Lane has passed it over to Councillor Antle.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. I'll follow up with the last three, and it leads into Deputy Mayor's final point. This is our focus now of Youth Awards are coming up 2022. You can visit the city's website for more information for nomination forms, but the forms must be submitted by April 15th. And we've talked about this at great length over the past few weeks at public council meetings. You know, there's so many youth within the city of Mount Pearl that are eligible for these Focus on Youth Awards, and it's always amazing how well these youth do come back and show us what they can do. It's amazing. I mean, their public speaking, their talents, Mount Pearl is in great shape. So if you're interested and you have a youth that you want to nominate, please get that form into us by April 15th. For more information, you can contact Rosie Steadhair of the city, and as a community events coordinator. And her website is on our city web address. And I think that's just for your information. There's no movement there. And number 4 for our committee is our development permit list for March 7th to March 18th. And you can see there for the development permit list, there's 4 there, and I so move.
It is moved by Councillor Antle, seconded by Councillor Lane, that we adopt the development permit list March 7th to the 18th. All in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Carried. Thank you.
And then we have our building and occupancy permit listing from March 7th to the 18th. for a building permits and for building construction residential for this time frame, a total of $72,900. And I so move.
Again, moved by Counselor Antle, seconded by Counselor Lane. All in favor? Motion carried. Thank you.
And building construction for the same time frame, totaling $8,500. And I so move.
Again, moved by Counselor Antle, seconded by Counselor Lane. All in favor? And those opposed? Carried.
And
Thanks.
it's always great to see occupancy permits issued for the same time frame, and there's 9 there for your review, and I so move.
Again, moved by Counselor Antle, seconded by Counselor Lane. All in favor? Counterminded? Carried.
And that's it for us, Your Worship.
I have a question.
No,
Why do we for home office leave the name of the company out? This is on the development permit list. Why would we list Big Cheese Pizza, Donna's Daycare, Atlantic Planning, and Management Limited, which seem to be areas that are in places that are zoned perhaps commercial, but we don't for home office? Is there a reason for that? Because that is a business operating in our city.
That is a great question, Your Worship. Yeah, I'll dig into that further. I thought it was for privacy, but when it came to commercial versus home-based, but I'll dig into that further and come back to council.
Yeah, nothing critical here, but
No, that's a good question.
but I do know it's company / name. But if we are issuing a development permit, we should at this table, I think, know who it's being issued to.
Absolutely.
And I was just curious because it's left blank, right? That's all. Yeah, yeah. Thank you very much. Now we're going to move on, I think, to the Corporate Services and Economic Development Committee. Councillor Locke, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. We have 5 items in our report this evening. I'll take the first 2, and then I'll turn it over to Deputy Mayor Colley to finish our report. The first for us are the invoices for council approval. You can see there that we have 10 listed, and they total $413,166.12. And just to highlight some of them there, the first one you can see Avalon Salt and Oil, $224,606 is for almost 1,800 tons of road salt. So I know we've had a peculiarly less snowy winter, but we've certainly had many nights and days where our crews have been out spreading salt, and they've done, again, as usual, a tremendous job here. So the salt is not cheap. So this is an expenditure that we do, again, just to make sure, as always, that we're ready to respond when Mother Nature throws conditions at us. So that's one I just wanted to highlight there. A second one, you can see number 6 is $5,000 for the Mount Pearl Paradise Chamber of Commerce. This is an annual grant that we do provide to the chamber, and we are happy to do so. We have great respect, and we provide great support for our chamber, and they provide a tremendous service and support to the many businesses in our city, as well as our neighboring town of Paradise. Just to highlight number 7 here, My Zone Health for $16,026, Your Worship. And this is for some rapid response testing as a part of our ongoing management of the COVID outbreak. We purchased these kits, again, to further protect our employees here and to ensure that we can manage the COVID, to ensure, again, that we can maintain our high level of services. So there are just 3 that I wanted to highlight there, and I move that the amount be accepted as presented.
Councillor Locke has moved and Deputy Mayor Kiley has seconded $413,166.12. Any comments? Councillor Rice.
No, just a, I guess, point of information on number 1, seeing how does that line up regarding with our salt, Avalon Salt and Oil? How does that line up for towards? I know this year has been a very unpredictable, I guess, weather pattern. So just curious, I guess, on how it was from this time last year.
Director Antle, I think, on this one.
Yeah.
Councillor Rice, our use of salt is higher than normal. I don't have an accurate number to give you. What you're seeing on the payment register there, that's a purchase of salt. That doesn't necessarily reflect with the actual use of that month. We stock up our salt shed, so our use is different than what you're seeing there. But Councillor Locke is, right, that this has been a year of not that much snow, but lots of rain, lots of freezing conditions. So our salt has been on higher than previous years on an average year.
Thank you.
I'll call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Those are approved.
Thank you, Mayor. The second item that I'll bring forth tonight is the payment register and purchase card report. And this is just for information of council and our residents. The following payment register for March the 3rd to March the 10th of 2022 totaled $1,839,534.30. And the purchase card report for January 26th to February 28th of 2022 totaled $445,797.21. And again, if anyone has any questions here, Director or Deputy Mayor and I will be happy to address any that you might have.
Hearing none, let's move to the Deputy Mayor, sir.
Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you. All yours, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Your Worship. And that leads us to the third item on our committee's agenda, which is a motion to amend rules of procedure posting of public council meeting minutes. So our Corporate Service Economic Development Committee recommends the adoption of the proposed amendments to the City of Mount Pearl's rules of procedure as presented in the notice of motion given at the public council meeting as of March 8th, 2022. So that is as follows. In accordance with the section 4.30 of the rules of procedure, the Corporate Service Economic Development Committee recommends adoption of the proposed amendments to the City of Mount Pearl's rules of procedures as presented in the notice of motion given at the public meeting as of March 8th, 2022. And as follows, under section 4.6 of the rules of procedures, we're going to be deleting following completion with a statement to the effect that such minutes are not the official transcript, which can only be provided following their adoption at the next meeting of council. And we're going to replace that with following their adoption at the public meeting of council. This section then will read, minutes of the public council meeting will be placed on the city's website within 3 working days following the adoption of the public meeting of council. So throughout the rules and procedures, of course, we're going to make any secondary and grammatical edits that are going to be required. And that's just to effectively incorporate the changes described under what we see above in our kits. So throughout the rules of procedure, make any other correction or formatting, required edits will be identified. And that includes everything from typos, which we will not alter any intent, which is very important to recognize of the current rules and procedures. So this amendment really is to ensure that the public is presented with an accurate and complete set of the council minutes from a respective public council meeting in a timely manner. And we're also just sharpening up our rules and procedures with regards to ensuring we have a particular time frame and everybody is ensuring that what is expected and what is identified for when council meetings are presented and how they're presented. We're just sharpening up the language there.
It is moved by Deputy Mayor Kiley, second by Councillor Locke. Thank you. Is this different from current practice? I'm going to ask Ms. Pratt, our city clerk.
So yes, it's a little bit different. What we had before in the current, well, what we have currently in the rules of procedure speaks to posting following completion. And it was unclear at that point in time what completion was. So before my time, I believe that there may have been 3 days following the meeting. There may have been 3 days following the completion by the previous city clerk, et cetera. So there was a little bit of bouncing around in the practice. So this just tightens it up. So now we have 3 working days following adoption. So now we have a clear start and a clear end date. So it's a little bit of, as Deputy Mayor Crowley said, just tightening up of what we had before to make sure that there's only one singular practice being followed.
Thank you. Councillor Locke and then Councillor Fry.
Okay. Thank you, Your Worship. At our committee meeting, we discussed the fact, I raised the question of, in this day and age, the actual need for minutes. I mean, the technology exists out there now that, you got voice to note software that could do that. So we at committee discussed that, and we will be exploring, further that in future, I would suggest that perhaps immediately following, the meeting, the minutes or the verbatim what was discussed at council meeting may be provided. So maybe not immediately afterwards, but it'll certainly allow us to expedite it a little bit further and cut down some of the time that's required here for preparing the minutes and then getting them approved by council, then getting them up onto the website. So I just wanted to throw that out there, that we are looking at ways to modernize and use technology to to help expedite the process. Thank you, Your Worship.
Councillor Fry.
I think I'm probably a little bit different on this one. What would be the downside in posting the minutes directly after a meeting with a caveat that these are still in draft, as we had there, with a caveat saying that these are still in draft and that they won't be formal until the adoption at the following meeting? Because right now, it's good, that means that our minutes aren't going to be posted for a number of weeks after, isn't it?
No, I think they're going to go up 3 days, actually in line with what you're saying, within 3 days to
After
allow
the-
them to be prepared. Am I right in saying that? I'll ask the city clerk.
So then the amendment would have them posted to the website 3 days after adoption at the following council meeting. And so to your point about why not post the draft minutes immediately after they're prepared, the risk there would be action. So if the minutes are posted and there's an incorrect note in there, or there's an incorrect direction or note to approval or whatever the case may be, and the public or a member of the media or whatnot acts on it, that's the risk. So by having the ones that are adopted, we've gone through the procedure of saying, are there any corrections or amendments in there? Is there anything to be noted? And then we're posting those. So this is in alignment with the majority of the other larger municipalities in the province, with the exception of those who currently have, as Councillor Locke said, the immediate transcription. So it's going straight from the meeting into transcription on the website immediately thereafter.
Your interpretation was correct, Councillor Fry. Yeah.
No, I mean, I agree with what you're saying. It makes perfect sense. But our meetings are live streamed, so it's out there. And anybody can watch it. It's out there. But yet some people might just want to see a synopsis rather than sit down and watch the entire hour just to look at the minutes, right? So I just don't see any harm in, because there are people out there who are engaged, as we know, who are engaged and who want to read and to keep up on everything. But for example, if we do something at this meeting now, it won't be known to the public if the minutes aren't posted for what, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, almost 3 weeks. And that's not really timely. So I'm just wondering if we could maybe reconsider and have a draft posted as draft.
So the draft minutes will go up when the agenda goes up. So that's the Thursday before the public council meeting. So they'll be there then, and then it'll be 2 weeks plus 3 days from the previous public council to the immediate posting. So it could be immediately, it could be the next day, or it could be within the 3 working days after that meeting.
Any further comments? Councillor Fry, were you finished?
No, I'm just getting my head right. You say it's going to be posted because it's with the agenda, right? So that would be less than 2 weeks, but it's still close to 2 weeks. Is that right?
Yep.
No, I'd like to see it a little bit timelier if we could, but I understand what you're saying and I understand the reason. But we also have, we want the public to be engaged and to be informed as well. So that's just, I don't see any harm in posting it as draft. So I just wanted to put that out there.
And you can always go over and above what the regulations say. These just set the minimum standard, right? Yeah, to Councillor Fry's point. Councillor Antle. I'm going to wait for the deputy mayor at the end to close debate because she started the motion.
Yeah, just a quick comment. What Councillor Fry said, I think, now if we can post our minutes, I'm just saying, this is not what I was going to talk about. If we can post our minutes the Friday prior to a public meeting and say it's draft, why can't we do it a week prior to that and say it's draft? But just getting back to my point is that, our meetings are live.
Yeah.
And as we all alluded to, I mean, this is live stream. So if anybody wants to see what we have to say, you can fast forward to whatever that topic you want to get to. So our minutes are there at any time. So if any resident wants our minutes for any reason, and it's a topic they want, I mean, you can just fast forward to that topic and you can get to that. But I think this is a good move and certainly applaud.
There's always a record of what happened in the meeting from the video. The purpose of the minutes, frankly, I don't think is to try to get into too much verbatim. It's intention of council. And if we as colleagues don't sit down and look at those minutes and all agree that that was the intent of council, that doesn't mean those minutes were really that valid. Certainly we'd want someone looking at them and relying on them. I think that's the intent here, is to get the minutes right. But to Councillor Antle's point, you can still see what we discussed and what we decided. But I do believe the minutes are always going to be a very, to your point, Councillor, a synopsis of what happened. But I think they have to be approved by members of council at the end of the day. It's funny though, I've been here 12 years, Jim, or Councillor Locke, you've been here 14. We rarely make changes to minutes. They are so accurately captured. And we're grateful for staff for that. But I believe that's the line of thinking. Anybody else before I move to the deputy mayor to close things down? Sorry, CAO Spurl.
Thanks, Your Worship. So just in terms of transparency, there are a couple of opportunities for the public. They can watch the live stream. The draft minutes are posted as part of the agenda. Administratively, it takes us a few days to work them through because we want to make sure any references to regulation or legislation, are properly documented and they're vetted. So it takes us a few days. So yes, we probably could get a draft a little earlier. I'm not sure how much earlier. And this makes reference to the official record of the minutes will be posted 3 days following adoption of council. So there are opportunities to see, the discussion and the nature of the discussion before that, but this will be the official document posted 3 days after.
So Deputy Mayor, this is not a loss of transparency. But there is a process in place to ensure accuracy going forward. So I allow you, if you would mind, close debate. before we call the
And
question.
thank you, Your Worship. And that's the point. And I think it was a great discussion because when we think about minutes, that's an accurate determination. That's a huge piece of governance and ensuring that we are what is being recorded, for who knows down the line when we will maybe going back to a minutes and when a decision's being made, whether it's historically or whether it's based on a keynote decision. That's where the language change has been here. So we have to always balance, you're absolutely right, access to the public of what's going on and what are the needs and what are the discussion items being presented at council, but also doing it in a way that's the most informed, accurate, and is going to absolutely be a representation of what decisions have been officially put in legislatively, right? And I just wanted to expand on this. I think minutes is something going back to my colleague Councillor Locke's point around, verbatim and looking at ways in which technology is going to increase access. Like right now, we're live streaming, so that's a point of access that previous councils did not have that opportunity. And I think, if anything, what I'm seeing as a trend here from our city is to increase those access points. So we've even thought about, well, one thing is live streaming, and then there's one thing with minutes, and then there could be looking at accessibility and inclusion to our discussion. So I'm excited to see what we can do with regards to ASL, what we can do to kind of increase any ways in which we can have our information. But I think what's really important here is that access to information discussion by live stream is really important, so people can be right here when we're having these discussions, and as much as we can. And then for whenever a key determination or going back to the record and to ensure that's accurate and full and to the point that's also being presented as well.
I'll call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
And those opposed? Say again? So you're voting against the motion? Yeah.
Sorry. Transparency to me is like, I don't see the harm in it. Residents need to know what it is we're doing, and transparency is extremely important. So while I understand the reasoning behind it, if we could do it earlier, I'd like to see it earlier.
What I'm going to suggest here is you propose a friendly amendment, but let's vote on the original motion and then have the will of council communicated back to staff that when the draft is ready, at least we can post that as an interim measure. Will that work for everybody?
Yes, Your Worship. The draft is posted with the agenda, and if we can strive to get
It's
it out
still there, right?
before that, we
Yeah.
will.
All right. So the original motion I'll call. All in favor? And motion carried. And then Councillor Fry would like to motion that where we can, We're practical. We always post I'm not trying to choose your words, sorry. We're practical. We always post draft minutes
Absolutely.
in advance of the next
As,
meeting.
as early as we can do it and always be transparent to our public.
There you go. Is that the will of council? All in favor? And that motion is also carried. Thank you, Councillor Fry.
Sorry, folks. I got to log back into my agenda. Talk about being technology forward. Okay, so that will lead us to number 4 on our committee's agenda, which is a RFP request for the Waterford River commercial kiosk design. And Your Worship and our colleagues, I'm quite excited to talk about this. So this is a request for proposals, and there's 2 we're going to talk about. The first one here in relation to the Waterford River commercial kiosk design. This is a part of our commitment to the Find Your Center City Center renewal plan. And, and I think I went back because I've got a hard copy here. The final report came in from May 2021, and it is one of those documents that you see and you recognize you are you are truly part of building the next part and future of our city. And so what we are looking at right now is basically the city is now looking at implementing key short to medium term initiatives identified in this plan. And so these are first 2 pieces of work that will be instrumental in 2 things: identifying the city center, and number 2, bringing foot traffic and commerce to the trailway. So when it comes to the Waterford River commercial kiosk design, the first is basically the mobile kiosk design work, which is for the design of a commercial mobile kiosk to be installed at the Waterford River Trailway in the center city. And these kiosks will help amplify the city center as a destination for residents, visitors, helping really create a new and unique experiences and encouraging private investment and redevelopment. And just looking at the pictures and knowing the conversations we've had here, this is an incredible opportunity to bring life, economic development, and even pedestrian and foot traffic to some of our incredible parks and recreation. It's a beautiful combination of, I think, progressive economic development and as well as supporting our environment and our trailways as well. So the Corporate Service and Economic Development Committee recommends awarding the Waterford Ridge commercial kiosk design. So this is specifically just for the design at this point to Mills and Wright in the amount of $13,345. That's not including HST.
Clarification, Fougere mention.
Right? Okay. Yes.
So we just moved by the Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Locke. Any comments or any questions? This is the preliminary stages. We look forward to the results. Councillor Rice?
Yes, I just wanted to add, I'm very excited about this as well. I think, we're looking here at just I guess, the kiosk design right now is what we're looking at. And I'm very excited to see what comes back, because very important aspect here will be supporting small business. I can see a lot of small business, coming here to set up, and with that brings people and, our trails area. So I'm thinking this is going to be fantastic. And then when we get more people into the city, if it's on a Saturday or Sunday, whatever, I guess the business on our main city center, then will, I guess, they'll get the reap the rewards of people coming there to eat and spend their money in the city center area. So this is exciting. I'm really glad this is going forward.
Any other? Yep. Thank you, sir. Any other comments? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? Aye. And motion is carried with none opposed. Thank you.
So that leads us to the second RFP, which is the city center gateway signage design. And I'll just quickly talk a little bit about that and what that means. So again, moving straight from our Find Your Center City Renewal Plan, it's a recommendation coming from our plan that was an installation of a gateway markers to help both welcome and introduce residents and visitors to the city center. At the onset of this project, our first step was to really outreach to residents on the way they considered to be our center, what really is our city center. And resounding responses outline the boundaries of key city centers, which will be used to place these gateway markers. Downtown signage is about more than helping people get where they want to go, but it also boasts opportunities to brand enhancements and key destinations. So these signs will become the first impression of a realization of our city center plan. And that really builds on our already strong community brand. The step is just the beginning and of, certainly the design phase. And we're excited to begin this design process and perhaps even include our residents on the final selection of the design. So as you can imagine, this is quite an exciting item. And again, the Corporate Service Economic Development Committee recommends awarding the city center gateway signage RFP to Mills and Wright in the amount of $13,345. And HSD is not included on that as well.
Moved by the Deputy Mayor, second by Councillor Locke. Any comments, any questions? Yes, please, Councillor Fry.
Okay. I know that this is just for design. The kiosks, absolutely. I mean, $13,000 to design a kiosk. You're looking at enhancing the river and pedestrian traffic and economic development. Personally, I don't see the need for these signs. I mean, to spend $13,345 to design signs and then to have the cost of the signs on top of that seems like an awful lot of money in a year where we are trying to be fiscally, we did so many penny pinching and cuts to try and balance our budget, and to spend tens of thousands of dollars on signs right now, to me, I just don't see it. I don't agree with it. I understand the concept. I just don't think that this is a good spend at this time.
Thank you very much. Perhaps a little discussion about the difference between what the purpose is here. I believe this is a marketing initiative as opposed to a neighborhood identification issue. Who wants to tackle that? Will I go to the director first, and then we'll come back to some members of council? Director Pittman, is that a fair statement that this is about branding a certain part of the city for a specific purpose or a special purpose?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, it was a core recommendation coming from the Find Your Center plan from Mills and Wright, the steering committee as well, just in identifying the core component of the city center and what Mount Pearl has really historically never defined the city center. So having those gateways and what they look like, I'm not sure. They could be improved lighting, they could be shrubbery and landscaping at the entrance points. We don't know. And that's all part of the design consultation process. But at the end of the day, really what we've seen is in areas similar to ours, in municipalities across the country and internationally as well, that designated area attracts additional visitors. It can attract business and private investment. It can make people want to be part of the project. And I think ultimately it does come down to branding and making sure that the city is demonstrating our commitment to Find Your Center, and the fact that it is a geographical region in our city that we want to highlight and profile, and that we've got a commitment to redevelopment in that location. And so highlighting the boundaries of that, I think, gives identity to it for both public and private investors and residents and visitors. So I think it's a critical component of the realization of the Find Your Center concept.
And on top of that, now to Councillor Fry's point, there is a turning point that's here. This is why we're doing the preliminary work. Will there be, and you mentioned it, Deputy Mayor, will there be some public engagement? So folks who feel like Councillor Fry can come out, because, maybe that's the way our residents are going to feel, that they don't want that special identification of a special part of the city. I know we'd have to advance with the $13,000, but is that going to be part of the process as a check and balance in this whole process?
So two answers to your question. The first was, this was actually part of the preliminary public consultation that was done in advance of the report being published. So gateway signage was a section in the public consultation that was done virtually and had pretty good turnout from the community. And second to that, of course, and so the intent of this process is actually somewhat unique from the city's perspective in that we're going to go through the design process, and a large component of that will be, excuse me, of the three concepts that the proponent will build for the city in utilizing feedback from the stakeholders will also be the intent is for those three concepts to go to the public to say, look, we want to brand and identify our city center. And this is what we're looking at from these designs. So tell us, do you like these designs? Which is your favorite? I don't know exactly how that will look yet. I don't know if it will be virtual. I don't know if it will be some type of like drop in. I'm really not sure because it's too preliminary in the process, but I think engagement, absolutely. And the reality is we really want citizens to be engaged in this whole process for Find Your Center, because it is a plan that's going to help reinvigorate the city center of Mount Pearl, which is, I think, long overdue.
I think I'm going to go, thank you. I'm going to go to Councillor Antle and then Councillor Lane, but I want to make sure I finish up with Councillor Fry. And of course, the deputy mayor to close debate. So there we have it for now.
Yeah, just a couple of quick comments. I understand what you're saying, Councillor Fry. I mean, we're looking for every dollar wherever we possibly can. We have, our next meeting coming up, that's where we're going to be discussing where we can find, always looking for extra money. Well, two things came to mind is that we spent a lot of money on this report, Find Your City Center. If we're going to start now, I mean, maybe we should look at this now and have another look at this report and see how much money we're really truly going to spend. Because if we're going to talk about the signage, there's more money coming up. And, we have to take a look at that and say, is this what we truly really want? The signage was to set us apart, have a go-to in part of Mount Pearl. So maybe we need to take a look at the whole concept to see how much money we truly want to spend. I mean, we can't be talking about $13,000 here and $10,000 there, So maybe we need to take a deeper dive, because this is only looking at the signage. The sign itself is going to cost $25,000-$50,000. So this is what we got to. And I'm just taking a guesstimate. I'm sorry, Director, but it's
but frankly, just to clarify, we don't know. We don't. But it's going to cost more than.
It's going to cost more than $13,000. So
yeah.
Maybe we need to look at the whole Find Your City Center. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you, Councillor Lane.
I too just wanted to acknowledge what Councillor Fry said. I do think that she brought up some fair points, in that, we're starting at $13,000, like Councillor Antle said. But this could cost much more. And perhaps we should go back and take another look at the plan, because maybe that money could be spent elsewhere and have a greater purpose than signage. But I do respect, what the committee is recommending, but I think I do see Councillor Fry's side and perspective on this. And I think I agree in that perhaps we should take another look, because maybe we could use that money elsewhere.
Anybody else? Councillor Fry, would you, sorry, Councillor Locke and then Councillor Fry. Sorry. Oh my, good. Go ahead, Councillor Rice, sorry.
Thank you, Your Worship. No,
I got a blind spot on the left side, I
yeah,
think.
so my point, I can see what everybody's been commenting on regarding, but we are moving forward with Find Your City Center. So in that, I guess that package that was put forward, we can't go picking away. We know it's costing a lot of money, but if we're really going to move forward, and I think everybody at this table here agrees that the city center is something that's going to be really crucial to Mount Pearl over the next 10, 20 years. So when we start, this is just a start with signage, but are we serious about developing our city center? Are we going to pick it apart once we start doing it? So that package, I mean, I'd like to go back as well and revisit it, but I do support the civic center, the city center area being, developed. And because in our main area of Commonwealth area and our, I guess our city hall area and Oliver, I guess, Centennial Square part, I mean, we do need some work in this area. You look at, if you go to the back of some of these buildings, or even on the front of some of these buildings on our city center, we do need some work. So, and the city plan, I read most of the plan, but it's been a while since I went through it, but I like to go through it again myself. And, so, I guess we're trying to come up with a plan. I guess that's what this city gateway signage is doing, where, where does it start to? Where does it end to? And what areas do we need to go from north, south, east, and west? Like But I do support the city development, moving forward with our city area. I do support that. So I just want to add that in there, right?
Yeah, I'm trying to not limit debate, Councillor Antle. I was chuckling as you were finished, Councillor Rice. Councillor Antle put his hand up, but I know the deputy mayor is going to close debate. I got Councillor Locke next, then Councillor Fry, and then I'm gonna move to the deputy mayor, if you don't mind, Councillor Antle.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just here to follow what Councillor Rice was just speaking about. During our budgeting debate, when we sat around and discussed and looked at where we could trim, we did trim off the Find Your Center. And we agreed that we would invest this money during the budgeting process. So we had great support. We had great input. We did all these focus group sessions. Council supported the initiative to move forward. And I'm not one for revisiting the Find Your Center. This is a commitment for this year. And then next year's budget, we'll look at where we want to go forward. But I think, I don't want to stall this personally. I think this is a small investment here. We're not committing to any expensive signs. Councillor Anter threw some numbers out there, but we don't know that yet. That's the whole purpose of doing this. And in the research and the feedback from our residents through our focus groups and emails and the like, they like the idea of defining a city center. It's all about Councillor Antle mentioned with the Northlands and a new tax base. Well, that's the whole purpose behind this Find Your Center plan, to define a city center, to try to attract businesses there, to develop along our gem, the Waterford River, and to provide opportunities for small, medium-sized businesses and other businesses along Topsail Road and in that part of the city. So it's the start of a redevelopment, intensification, trying to expand our tax base. This is not a huge expenditure here. It's 13,000. I'm all for, protecting our money and spending it wisely, but I think this is a relatively small investment on our $52 million budget that we brought down. And I think it'll lay the groundwork to let council decide where we want to go forward. I don't want to pull the plug on this right now, because once we come out of COVID, there's going to be a lot of people anxious to get development ongoing. And I want to make sure that we're in a ready position to accept any sort of opportunities business-wise. So I will be voting in support of this expenditure here tonight, Your Worship. Thank you.
So with your permission, council, I'm gonna trying to be flexible. People speak once normally, but Councillor Fry, you're opposed. So I just want to let you have the floor. I am going to go to Councillor Antle with your permission, council, but then I want to go to the deputy mayor and sort of wind this down, if that's okay. Councillor Fry.
Thank you, Your Worship. I am fully in support of the Find Your City Center. I am fully in support of the development and the intensification and all the plans that are in place. My only concern right now is the signage. I know that this is low hanging fruit. We've got, it's a big plan. And I know that these are a couple of things that we can do now that are tangible that we can do now. But there's so much that we can do down with the river, and to start to develop the river and to entice businesses to go there and to celebrate the river. I mean, there's a lot that we can do. I am fully in support of what we're doing. It's just that for the signage right now in this particular year, I mean, we've got the Soccer Association celebrating their 50th year. They've got events planned. We've got Admiralty House celebrating their 25th year. I mean, in a year that we could help them and it's spread it out in the community. Rather than a sign at this point, and well, it's not even a sign, it's just a design for a sign. I just think that money can be better used this year. And I'm not saying to not do a sign, but is now the right time, to have signs up when we don't have anything developed yet? Is that really the right time? So that's just where I'm coming from at this point. I'm not saying never do it. I just think this is not the right year to do it.
Fair comment. Thank you very much. on the quick to Councillor Antle, and then
Oh,
the deputy mayor gets to close things off. I think we can easily put together a
Really,
summary.
really quick, I just want to let you know, like, I do support this $13,000. My point was, and I was saying to Councillor Rice, is that if we're going to start picking apart, I think Councillor Locke said, we're going to start taking this apart. We already approved this Foundry City Centre last year. We approved the money. This study cost us a lot of money, and we approved it. And we went through the budget process. That's what I'm saying, Councillor Fry. I don't want to take this apart. We approved it through budget, and I'll continue. That's what the point I was trying to get across. I don't, maybe next year we have to look at it again, but for now.
Deputy Mayor, this
Thank
is
you.
just a stepping stone. It doesn't mean the signs are going to be put in or the markers. It depends what the outcome of this phase is, or this stage, is it not?
Thank you, Your Worship. So just a few comments, and that I think it's really important to recognize is that the debate here is not necessarily by supporting this signage that we're taking away from another part of any of our budget. I think it's important to recognize the budget that we presented today is balanced, and that this is not above and beyond what's already been budgeted for this year. So I think it's an important note when we think about community organizations, which are essential, and whether it's a milestone type of funding that comes in, or core funding, that this is not, when we look at these, just as much as we looked at the infrastructure planning that we're looking at the north top side. Now that's an infrastructure matter, but we're here looking at an economic development matter, and the same sort of seeds and visioning really need to be kind of put in the same sort of perspective. So I think that's important, that by investing in a project that has interlinked with all parts of it. And I just wanted to talk about that a little bit. When we look at the renewal plan, there's guiding principles. When we look at the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 guiding principles, which is, building strong linkages with regards to trails, prioritizing complete streets, activating a Centennial Square, embracing the Waterford River, highlighting the core area, which we're talking about today in relation to one part of that, which is with design signage, or humanizing commercial corridors within certain key streets. That these things, like, again, are interrelated, and when we see these, it's not I'm cautious to look at one item, and if us as council, rather than we start picking through that, we might be again moving away from the larger vision and process of this. But I do respect Councillor Fry's component of this is a difficult year. This is recovery. And I think there needs to be a balance between what we are putting out for supports for our small businesses and our organizations, which I think we have in our budget, but also that we keep with a positive vision. And to Councillor Locke's point around, we need to also surge and be ready for when we're beyond recovery, but in a matter where we want to see this. And some of these plans really need to look like planting seeds, because while it might be just a signage design, what the vision is to see this all come together within midterm, 1 year, 4 year to 10 years to 25 years. A lot of this needs to start now, I speak and I'm in support of this, because I do believe if we've already identified these are the stepping stones before we can move into signage, before we can move into those things, that I think we need to start somewhere, and I think this is a good point, or a point of entrance to that.
So with that on the floor, the motion is on the floor, moved by the deputy mayor and seconded by Councillor Locke. All in favor?
Aye.
Hands up, I guess, and those opposed. I think the vote for the record is 5-2, with Councillors Lane and Fry voting against. Thank you very much, Deputy Mayor. Solid debate, folks, and it's a good way to finish the meeting. We've gone on for an hour and a half. You want to cancel the roundtable tonight? What do you think? Let's try to do a quick one, and so we can wrap up the meeting. We have a heavy committee of the whole. I'm going to just quickly move to, I believe the Deputy Mayor is first tonight.
Thank you, Your Worship. It has been quite an eventful couple of weeks, and I just speaking from some of the events I have attended, And what I have seen, even within the public engagement on some of these community events, it is absolutely wonderful to see. I think there is a momentum, even while we're moving past the public health measures, and we're going beyond a time in which COVID had such a very different impact on how we can do things in the community. I would say thematically over the last couple of days and weeks, we have seen such a wonderful engagement and participation that it's just, you're getting a good spirit and feeling of community throughout you go. And I just wanted to highlight some of those things. We had a wonderful tailgate party this last Saturday that the city had put off with Masterless Men at the Team Bougie Highway Complex, or I would say outside. And it was just one of those times where you had, we had members of council here with their family and their friends, and it was wonderful music. It was a great time being had by all. It was high wind, really cold, but that didn't stop people from dancing and enjoying themselves. So I just wanted to thank those that were responsible for coordinating that within the city, for the amount of residents that partook and dressed up in green and came in and just had an overall great time. It was a wonderful event. And there's nothing, it was a way that, of course, St. Paddy's Day weekend is a huge one. It's within our province and within our community. So it was just, I think, well done. And it certainly is an indication of some of the spirit that people and us coming out of some difficult times. I also wanted to identify in a wonderful event that I attended with all of my colleagues here just last night, which is as of the March 2022, the Mount Pearl Soccer Association is right now hitting its milestone of 50 years in working, supporting the love of soccer within the community. And it was an incredible night. We had members that were a part of, or in 1969, I believe, was the very first year. We had founding members that were able to speak, current chairs that were just had great words to say. We had a lot of young members and athletes and players attend. And I could tell you, all of our counselors and colleagues across the table, there was not one that had some sort of connection to the Mount Pearl Soccer Association, whether it was as a volunteer, as a coach, or somebody who's played, or someone's attended or supported. And that is just an incredible indication of just how important this sport. All I can say is just speaking to my own personal preference. And I said this to the room last night, and I don't mind sharing it because you speak to what you know. I wasn't a great soccer player myself. I wasn't the best athlete. My brother was a fantastic goalie. He was great. And I don't mind sharing that. And I'm sure he doesn't mind me sharing that either. But when we were on that field, because of the mentorship, because of the support and the friendships developed, and certainly really shone through the Mount Pearl Soccer Association, I loved every minute of it. And it just demonstrates that all skills, abilities, and levels of an organization, you can come in and really foster some wonderful skills that I'll never forget, no matter what, moving forward. So I just wanted to say that. I also wanted to highlight an upcoming event for this weekend, which is the Hackathon. And that is being hosted by our city of Mount Pearl. And it is an incredible event where we will have, oh my gosh, maybe Director Pittman, how many teams do we have right now that are signed up?
We have 19 teams and 56 participants.
19 teams, 56 participants, and that's not just in Mount Pearl. That is across Newfoundland and Labrador that is going to be participating virtually. And what's so amazing about that is you're talking about individuals that are coming together to with a solution-focused approach with talking about a really important topic. And I think it's come out here, and we talk about it in all sorts of ways, which is business recovery. And so what the entire focus of these teams and these bright individuals and are going to be talking about ways in which we can basically solution focus on business recovery. And I'm so excited to see what ideas are going to be presented. I'm really excited for the mentors that have signed up from all sorts of industry, tech, and academic and organizational levels that are just all about innovation and technology. And I'm looking forward to Sunday to see the awards and presenting the awards with my colleague, Councillor Locke, on behalf of the Corporate Service Economic Development team. And I think there's never a better theme regarding, what we're coming out of as a pandemic, and not a better and no better like time that Mount Pearl is kind of hosting an event with so many bright individuals and groups to be focusing on that. So those are three things. I'm sure there's a lots more, but I'm gonna defer to my colleague here, Councillor Angel.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I'll be as quick as I possibly can, Mayor. So I just got a couple of things. I won't recap.
Councillor Rice. I'm only kidding.
As we talked about the Mount Pearl Soccer Association, their 50th year as well. We lost a very good, strong supporter of a community builder last week, Brian Maloney. And most people here might remember Brian. Brian was quite active with the sports here in Mount Pearl. Brian started in 1969. He was the key organizer for the Mount Pearl's fast pitch league here in Mount Pearl. And he played a key role in organizing the senior men's basketball team in the 70s. And he played with both the provincial teams in both sports. If anybody can remember Brian Maloney, I mean, that guy could certainly pitch a fast ball. He was fabulous. Brian was also involved with the Sports Alliance for the past 20 years. He was a founding member of the funding committee for sports grants in the late 90s. And he was a member of the Sports Hall of Fame committee for the past 20 years. And Brian himself was inducted in the Hall of Fame in 1996. So he's certainly going to be missed. He was a strong community builder. We also lost a strong business owner here in Mount Pearl, Roger O'Neill. Roger only died a couple of days ago. He owned Ranco Construction. He did a lot of work here in the city. Roger grew up in Mount Pearl. He lived on Glendale Avenue. I think he had 6 brothers and sisters. His parents lived here. They had a strong oil company. And Roger leaves behind his spouse, Wanda Reed. And it's certainly sad to see these two people go. Just a couple of things else. On April the 8th, this is a strong shout out to, we have a young guy here in Mount Pearl, Alex Taylor. He's only 13, 14 years old. And he's organizing a benefit concert for the Ukrainians out there in St. Mary's Church down on Craig Miller Avenue. And I was talking to his mother last night, and he's certainly building this fundraiser, but he's already up to $1,000. It's amazing when he starts doing this on his own, and he's volunteering on his own time. So if anybody's free, it's April the 8th. It's at 7 o'clock, and you can call his mother at 691-4020. And that's everything for me. I told you.
Councillor Rice, please. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll be brief. So one thing I like about the round table is that we're always throwing a bouquet of flowers to everybody, and there's no bad news because there's all good news here in Mount Pearl. So a great city to live in, right? So first of all, I could certainly add on to Deputy Mayor Kiley and Councillor Antle as well. I had the pleasure actually of attending the Mount Pearl Soccer Association 50th anniversary celebration also last night. And, it was a very touching ceremony. I mean, a lot of is very nice to see. I mean, all the builders off since back in 1973, Ed Moist, and, now I guess the president back in 73, and then now, Mr. Nolan as well, right? CJ Nolan. And, it's so good to see. I mean, that's quite a milestone, 50 years. I got a personal connection there. My kids, 3 kids, Sydney, Victoria, Mackenzie played soccer coming up through, and they thoroughly loved the Timbit starting off in the house league. And I had Victoria who played All-Star. So they loved, it's a growing, I guess, part of their development as kids growing up. And I just want to say congratulations to Mount Pearl Soccer Association. And I certainly support any endeavors that they're going forward with because they've done such phenomenal work over the past 50 years. Also, I want to say, even though it was cold down at Team Glacier, St. Patrick's Day tailgate party, we were there at that as well. And the wind picked up. I was down there early in the morning, and talking to Rosie and the crew that are sitting up, I think at 10 o'clock in the morning. I dropped in to see if they needed anything picked up or dropped off, but they were all good. They did a great job. The city staff, IPW staff did a great job setting up old tents there. They were there eager to, I guess, put it up, and they were there eager to take it down when it was all over. So good to see. Also, just want to add that the community supper at the Church of the Good Shepherd is still ongoing every second Wednesday. And I think most of council have been involved with that on deliveries and some aspect of helping out. So it's really good to see. That's what we're here for, to help when we can. But such an initiative to Scott Hillier, again, I want to say hats off to Scott. The tremendous work that he's doing in the community and around this area is just phenomenal work. And anybody that's involved with Scott knows that his heart is in the right place. And if you speak to Scott on the personal note, I guess he got a reason to be raised by a single mother. She worked 2 or 3 jobs, and so it's difficult for Scott, to be there every week. But I can see the true meaning, what he's behind all the time. It's so good to see. And the last one for me is just want to add in. It's been mentioned already tonight, but the focus on youth awards. Very important. Coming up on the deadline is April 15th, 2022. Rosie is taking applications for that, but that's very important to recognize anybody in our community, the youth in our community that have contributed over the years to building Mount Pearl and still building the Mount Pearl. And it's such a great to get recognized on every aspect of what you do and how you help out. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you, sir, very much. Councillor Lane.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. I'm going to keep it short and sweet. So I just want to send out congratulations to the St. Peter's Junior High Boys basketball team, who won silver in the provincial championship. So that's awesome. Congratulations to them. And congratulations to the St. Peter's Junior High Grade 7 boys basketball team, who is this year's provincial champs. So that is just fantastic. We have a lot of great dedicated basketball players. Yeah. And lastly, the Earth Day e-waste drop-off is happening on April 23rd, 10 a.m. at 365 Olpa Center Road. And they'll accept anything that plugs in, has a circuit board, or uses batteries. Yeah, and that's it for me. I'll pass.
And that's on Earth Day, right?
It's on Earth Day.
Yeah, cool. That's even better.
Fantastic.
Wow, well done. Yeah. Councillor Fry.
Well, I'm not going to repeat anything that my colleagues have already talked about, because there's been so many wonderful things on the go. 2 things for me. I just want to let everybody know that the Municipal Mental Health Task Force has their upcoming webinar, and it's this coming Thursday. And it's an overview of the Canadian Mental Health Association of Newfoundland and Labrador. It's a free webinar. And these are always really informative. And the focus is on municipal leaders and staff. So it gives a good understanding of things that need to be shared and understood from an administrative perspective. And secondly, for me, I want to give a big shout out to all of my friends who celebrated World Down Syndrome Day yesterday. Because Down syndrome it's not a disability, nor is it an illness. It's a distinct culture within all cultures, with its own beliefs, customs, and bonds. And people gifted with an extra 21st chromosome transcend borders, socioeconomics, color, and ethnicity, bringing with them a richness that enhances the lives of those they touch. And I know several that have touched my life, and I'm a better person for it. So a big shout out to all of the people celebrating World Down Syndrome Day. And that's it for me, Your
Well
Worship.
said. Thank you. Councillor Locke, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. Couple of items here. I just want to acknowledge the Mount Pearl Soccer. I won't get into all the details, but it was a lovely event and a great milestone of 50 years. Also, we attended a little event on Saturday night for the Chevrolet Good Deeds Cup, and the Kenny's Pond Kings, our very own here in Mount Pearl. They were regional finalists, and now they're up for the vote now to win big, $100,000 prize. So you can vote every day. And help me out here, Mayor. I think on March 26th, you can vote 10 times on that day.
I think you do one vote by email and it counts 10 times. Does that sound right?
Okay, that sounds right.
March 26th, March 14th.
Right, it's worth 10 times. Yes. Okay. So I know Rory McPherson is emailing me every day just to remind me, but I'm doing it every day, and I know everyone is on board here. And let's see if we can't bring the Good Deeds Cup home. They are in support of the Association of New Canadians, and which is just so fitting, given what's on the go in the world with respect to the Ukraine disaster that's ongoing and unfolding before us. And the second last, the Seniors Independence Group, they did have a little gathering the first time in 2 years last week. And I was happy to bring greetings on your behalf, Mayor. And it was just nice to see all the seniors out, and they got up and scuffed. They had a great dance. So it was very nice to see, and you could just see the joy coming there. Councillor Lane just mentioned the Earth Day e-collection event at Admiralty House. When I was campaigning this summer, I met this remarkable young fellow over in the Admiralty Wood area, I think, in that neck of the city. And Ryan Easton is his name. I was impressed because when I knocked on his door, he had all these people coming and going. He was collecting all these metals, entrepreneur. So he was gathering up metals and bringing it out to the recycling depot. And I forget he had made significant dollars, and great little business person. So his mother Viola just reached out to me. He was featured on NTV News Our Time segment this past Sunday. And he is having an Earth Day free e-waste collection event at the Admiralty House from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. And again, this is an initiative that he's undertaking. He's now 13. So I want to throw out, because we talked about the focus on youth awards and young Alex with the initiatives. We have a lot of young people in this city that have great social conscience, and it's just a delight to see. So kudos, a big bouquet, as Councillor Royce said, to our friend Ryan for his initiative to help do his part to protect planet Earth. And that's it for me, Your Worship. I thank you.
Well, thank you very much, sir. And frankly, I think you've talked about everything that's been done in the city and far and wide. I'll just finish it with the Mount Pearl Junior Blades. So they are 1-1 against the Bay Roberts CBN Stars. And that series will continue in both Bay Roberts and Mount Pearl this coming weekend. So if you want to get you a little bit of hockey and you want to see it in Mount Pearl or Bay Roberts, that'll be this coming weekend. So I want to wish both teams the best of luck. Council, I have made a wager with the mayor of Bay Roberts to wear the opposing jersey if one of our teams loses. So the series is not going to end in a tie, but just for a bit of fun. And I think it makes for good neighborly relations and the like, right? So the mayor has been quite cooperative and very, it's a very friendly thing. So it's all good at the end of the day, and hopefully I'll be wearing a Blades jersey here in 2 weeks' time. Anyway, with that, I'm going to call for a motion to adjourn, and that's Councillor Fry and Councillor Rice. Thank you very much. We're adjourned. Good night.